Triple murder accused Henri van Breda has denied the possibility that injuries he sustained on his back and forehead could have been sustained during a fight with his sister Marli. Van Breda is under cross-examination in the Cape Town High Court. He's accused of axing to death his brother, father and mother and seriously injuring his sister Marli at their Zalze Estate home 2 years ago. State prosecutor Susan Galloway quizzed Van Breda on why he did not mention his 2-hour and 40-minute blackout to the doctor who treated him for injuries sustained during the scuffle with the alleged intruder. Van Breda claims he lost consciousness on the stairs in their home shortly after chasing the alleged intruder down the stairs. He says while he recalled getting stitches for the stab wound, he could not recall the conversation with the doctor as it was a long time ago. He told the court he had not suffered a similar blackout before and that he was not using drugs which could have caused him to lose consciousness. He's denied amending his version of losing consciousness to fit in with the timeline of events on the night of the murders. Van Breda became emotional when Judge Siraj Desai asked why he didn't call for help, saying he thought he was doing the most he could to help by calling emergency services. The trial continues. Right, well, let's get more now from our reporter Vanessa Puna in Cape Town. Vanessa, good afternoon to you. Galloway continuing her cross-examination, and in her own words, she says she's testing Van Breda's credibility, but he seems to be handling the pressure. There's hardly been any sign of stress or emotion from him.
Yes, indeed. State Prosecutor Susan Galloway telling the court that she is indeed testing the credibility of Henri van Breda, whose version of events she is going through with a fine-tooth comb here in the Cape Town High Court behind me. Just a short while ago, court adjourned for lunch, and of course throughout this morning she was testing Henri van Breda's version, for example on that 2-hour 40-minute loss of consciousness that you mentioned earlier on, asking him whether indeed he had any underlying medical condition or whether he was under the influence of any drugs at the time which would have caused him to suffer such a blackout. Under cross-examination, Henri van Breda saying that he did not mention this 2-hour 40 loss of consciousness to the doctor who examined him after the attack on his family, also the same doctor who treated him for a stab wound that he sustained during the alleged fight with the attacker in the Van Breda Zalze home in 2012. Now, a short while ago, also the focus turning to how DNA of Henri van Breda's family could have ended up on the front of his shorts as well as on the right toe or on the toe of his right sock. Also, these questions being put to Henri van Breda, the objections, of course, coming from his counsel, Piet Botha, arguing that at this stage the state cannot expect the witness or the accused to make speculations when indeed there had been forensic experts which had taken the stand during the course of this trial. Of course, today being the 5th day of grueling cross-examination after Henri van Breda at the end or towards the end of the trial insisting or instructing his attorney to tell the court that he indeed wants to testify in his own defense. Of course, last Monday, very briefly, his advocate, Piet Botha, leading him there in leading evidence. And of course, for the duration since then, he's been under grueling cross-examination from prosecutor Susan Galloway.
Yeah, and how much longer of this cross-examination can we expect, Vanessa?
Look, at this stage, it's not quite certain exactly how much longer the prosecutor or the prosecution team will continue. But of course, if one looks at it from the state's point of view, the longer they have Henri van Breda in the witness stand, the possibility, of course, of him in other words, testifying or making mistakes or errors on the stand is, of course, much higher. Up until this point, the prosecution has been asking him about, for example, why he took such a long time, for example, on the emergency services call that he had made, and why in that time he had opted to call his girlfriend at the time and not use his mobile phone, for example, to use the numbers of emergency numbers that was on the fridge of the Zalze home, for example, Henri van Breda saying that in hindsight he should have done just that, saying that he was indeed frustrated during that call, that took some time to get help, but saying that at that point in time he thought that he was doing all he could do. Even when asked why he did not, for example, go outside and call for help, he said that he thought that help in the form of getting emergency services with an ambulance to their Zalze home would be the best course of action for him to assist his family who had been attacked during the early hours or late that night or in the early hours of the following morning.
All right, Vanessa, thanks so much. We'll leave it there for now. Our Vanessa Puna covering that story for us. Henri van Breda, triple murder accused, still with his cross-examination at the Cape High Court.